Hello, this is Tim O'Connell. I'm the director of fiction with the S&S imprint at Simon and Schuster, and I'm really excited to be presenting to Siba and Neba with Stephen Markley and discussing his new novel, The Deluge. Stephen has an incredible ability to tap right into the zeitgeist, and The Deluge is arriving at the time when it is most needed. Stephen's first book, Ohio, was a cultural phenomenon, likely thanks to a lot of you guys, but it was also a BEA Buzz pick, a BNN Discover selection, an Indie Next pick, a Best of the Year by Vulture, Time, New York Post, The Millions. It was everywhere. If I had to give you an elevator pitch for The Deluge, I'd say it is like Leo Tolstoy and Stephen King collaborating on the stand. But the horror here is the ecological and sociological collapse that the world faces due to climate change. Or imagine all the research and science of An Inconvenient Truth, but encased in a thrilling page turner, unlike anything you've ever read. I like to say that the book is a world unto itself, and its message might just help save our own. But there are some booksellers who have already put this better than me. There's Jeremy Garber at Powell's in Portland, Oregon, saying few books in a lifetime will make you feel as this one. Bobby Irving from Penguin Bookshop in Sewickley, Pennsylvania, said of The Deluge that it's a terrifyingly imagined future made all the more believable by the real characters. And of course, I want to finish with Siva's Bill Cusumano from Square Books in Oxford, Mississippi, who said The Deluge is a seminal novel and a singular achievement. It is sure to take its place alongside such great environmental books as The Overstory, The Shell Collector, Barkskins, Flight Behavior, and so many others. So, Stephen, with that in mind, elsewhere I've heard you say something that really stuck with me, and it was really profound, that in order for us, meaning collective us, to turn around the effects of climate change, one of the great dramas of humanity must unfold. And I know that this took you 10 years to put down. So I would like to know a little bit about the process and the inspiration that went into writing the book.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for saying all that, Tim. I didn't start out saying I'm going to spend a decade writing a 1,000-page novel. It's more like I had these characters I couldn't get out of my head. And, the writer, like everybody else, is sort of sitting back, eating the popcorn, wondering what will happen as we go. So a lot like Ohio, I was carrying around this combustible stew of human beings. And I spent years thinking about how they would view this moment, right? So these are people caught in the storm of history, from a scientist to an activist to a drug addict. And every one of them has their own compulsions, their own intersecting mysteries, flaws, failures, and moments of courage. But I also had this incredibly compelling subject matter, which is the greatest emergency to ever befall the human world. Most of the damage of the climate crisis has all come about in my lifetime. In many ways, this emergency will be the story of my lifetime. And it occurred to me that the problem is so far gone that, as you said, in order to turn things around, one of the great dramas of human history is going to have to unfold. And as a storyteller, it's hard to resist trying to imagine that and bring it to the page.
Part of the power of your book is how it parallels reality. And I've noticed, I wanted to know if it was eerie to see things pop up in the news that were in your book. You've been working on this for 10 years. So, what's it like as a fiction writer to see things that you're writing about coming true?
Yeah, in all honesty, it's been deeply unpleasant and mostly horrifying. Particularly in the last 6 years, I've kind of watched my dreams and nightmares come to life in such a way that plot points I was concocting in 2012 are suddenly headlines in 2022. And, it's been too many times now where I'll get a text or an email from somebody saying, did you see this? Somebody who's read the book. And, that happened just this past month with my editor, Stuart, emailed me and said, like, hey, did you see this thing in the news? And it was, a scenario basically ripped right from the novel.
You've encased all of this in what really is a page turner. It's long, but you keep going and you just don't want to stop reading it. And I think as an editor, and as a publisher and as a reader, I guess also I was interested in if there were certain particular framing or structural devices that you use to keep readers on the edge of their seats. And I know, and I could share with others that, you've been writing for Only Murders in the Building. And I wondered about the parallels between, writing this entertaining long book and this sort of new kind of prestige television that we find ourselves, kind of binging.
You brought up The Stand. I was a big Stephen King fan as a kid, probably way too young. I'm reading like Gerald's Game when I'm 11. I had bad parents. But it's that quality that I so admire about him and about authors, who can just keep you churning through pages. Like, I love that feeling when you don't want to put the book down. And it sounds so simple, but it's also such an incomprehensible skill, right? And as for the Deluge, I always knew each of these chapters would be about a character through their eyes, and each chapter would have its own self-sustaining arc, almost its own little world. And as these little worlds accrue, they build up to this thing that's much bigger, much more epic in scope and mystery and meaning.
I would finally ask you, like, if you, if someone was in the store and a bookseller was handing them a copy of the Deluge, like, what would be your wildest thing they might say, or what might you want them to say as they were kind of handing that thing over?
It's not a book you can put on your shelf and get to in a year or 3 years or 5 years. I know I do that all the time, but this is something you have to read right now. This is a novel that is as urgent as the moment we're living in.
Well, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it. It's fun always to have a chance to talk with you about this, and we're going to have more, and I can't wait to see the discussions that the book causes when it goes out into the world. So again, thank everybody from SIBA and from NEBA and Stephen Markley.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.